Hello, tile friends. Welcome back to another edition of Tile Money, the podcast where we discuss the business of being a tile contractor. My name is Luke Miller, a tile contractor here in the beautiful state of California, and I'm sitting down with my friend Kristan Blanchard. Now, I wanted to say Tile Money is sponsored by the National Tile Contractors Association, and this episode is sponsored by Laticrete International. Kristan, how are you today?
I'm doing great, buddy. Thanks. How are you?
Good, doing really good. For those who have been living under a rock, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Kristan Blanchard. I am the Northern California and Nevada weedy rep. So I do a lot of trainings and do a lot of public, instructions, just training for workshops for contractors and designers. And then I help support the economy here and open up distribution with weedy and provide the technical support and do a lot of stuff online with them as well.
All right, very cool. And you were a contractor before that, so
Yes.
We value your input, and this is your second round with the Tile Money podcast. So in this round, we're going to jump right into it and dive deep into the sales game. Sales is something that we can all improve on, and pretty much no matter how long you've been in business for yourself, that's a fact that I believe
Absolutely.
in. Yeah, so what do you got for us today?
I wanted to talk about, the sales, but about what sales is.
Okay.
And the context that sometimes maybe what sales is not. And then maybe help take some ownership, okay?
All right.
Or extreme ownership if we're reading Jocko and Leif.
Yeah.
And what that process is. Learning from my own experience as being a general contractor who focused on tile because I saw that tile was in my area, a niche that frankly very few people did.
Okay.
And so that I saw that as an opportunity for me to be able to exploit, right? Plus, I love rocks and I love being creative.
What do you mean by that? An opportunity to exploit?
Tile can be very useful, right? It doesn't always have to be aesthetically pleasing. It can still be functional. But at the level that you play at and that I used to work at, and that many of us do, tile or stone is not simply functional. It's also aesthetically pleasing. And I would even go as far as to say like an art piece. Look at Joshua Nordstrom. Could you argue that any other way?
Right.
Other than being art,
Yeah.
And he's at a whole other level. So while we focus on years of on the job site, maybe an apprenticeship, or maybe working on your own, working from other people, maybe learning through workshops and things provided by manufacturers, etc. I feel like we all put a lot of effort into our tools, a lot of effort into our processes, and a lot of effort into making our ability to set tile better. I don't see a lot of improvement on the business side.
Yeah.
And I don't see a lot of improvement on the sales side. In fact, in what I do, even though I don't literally sell weedy, a distributor does that, someone else does that. When I do my workshops, which I've done probably 40 at this point in the last year, the number one complaint or the number one objection that I get has nothing to do with weedy at all, to be frank. Has everything to do with that person saying, sometimes literally, or sometimes they mean, yeah, but I'm not a salesperson, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not you, okay? You do this for a living. I can't do that for a living. I freaking screw stuff to the wall and I set tile. And I have to argue with that. And I have to ask, well, how do you get your jobs?
Yeah.
Who pays you? I mean, do you just wake up and then all of a sudden have a free job sitting in front of you where you just have to set tile and that's it? Well, no, dude, of course not. That's stupid. So the point that I'm getting to is we are all salespeople.
Yeah.
All humans are selling or being sold something, an idea, a religion, a product, a method, a friendship, relationship, something. Period. No exception. Classic example is raising kids. You got small kids. I have 2 small kids. I'm being sold and selling every single day. I convince my kid to brush her teeth 12 times. No, Daddy, I don't need to brush my teeth. Okay, she's trying to sell me that she's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So we all have that process. I think so many of us will come into a job, meet the respective people involved in the decision, take measurements, jot it down on a piece of paper, figure out what kind of tile we want and say, okay, here's my price. Well, that's too high. Okay, well, here's my new price. Okay, thanks. And that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm not dogging that. I'm saying there's much more to that process. I feel like the word salesman and negotiation, those 2 words together, I feel like many of the people in the community view that with disdain. A salesman's to be honest, there's many people that sometimes call me a salesperson. I think what they're trying to say is I'm
Like,
not. It's a negative thing. Whereas to me, I say thanks, buddy. That's a freaking awesomest thing you could tell me. You know.
Yeah, I think a lot of us view it as a curse word almost.
And I
but
understand that.
but I appreciate what you said earlier on. Most of us tile installers are focused on the methods and the best practices, and that's a key component to being a tile contractor. I mean, obviously, we have to get that right. We have to know how to do it, and we have to challenge ourselves. We're being challenged in the field every day. I mean, the progression rate of the size of tiles, the complexity. When glass. I mean, there's certain things that you need to know. Otherwise, you're going to go around with failed jobs.
Absolutely.
But if we don't focus on the sales and on the business end, we're gonna fail anyways. Even if every job is perfect and lasts 1,000 years, and nobody ever wants to tear it out.
Right. You just may be 80, still setting tile.
Yeah.
Still trying to pay the mortgage.
Yeah. And that's the exact reason I've started this podcast. So I appreciate your focus on this and your desire to help us out.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. I also appreciate yours. This is fantastic that you're able to do this.
Yeah.
I think we all need it desperately.
So what can someone like me focus on? What advice would you give me? I mean, I've been in business here in San Luis Obispo several years. I can employ several people. I can keep several people busy. I've done up to 6, but I still struggle with selling value.
That's it right there. We have to understand the nature of value versus price. Price is fixed. People forget price. I don't know how much I paid for my Rockstar this morning because I don't care. People forget price all the time. Value, we do not forget at all. You have to be able to build that value.
You created that buzz from that Rockstar.
That's the value I get out of it. Is this morning I'm wide awake and I'm on Livewire, right? So that's the value I get.
Yeah.
That's worth more than the $2, the $2.50, or whatever I paid for it. Obviously, that's one little example, but all those things that you're talking about, 40 years ago, what was tile? Maybe 5 different types, right? Didn't even have thin set.
Yeah.
Tile, quote, was a fairly contained skill set. Okay.
Yeah.
It is not now.
Yeah.
It is not at all. So we have to not only understand all those things, we still have to be legally compliant. We still have to be compliant to our state and the business side. But we have to understand how all of these various products exist. Guys, to be a real tile setter, to be a skilled tile setter, this is a craft. I mean, this is a whole respectable art form. I mean, this is a major skill set to have. And it's evident when you see some of these posts that the guys, the work that they do, again, like Joshua Nordstrom, you don't need to say anything. We can extrapolate from what we're looking at.
Right.
This guy's got amazing skill.
Right.
Okay. Caveat to that, he's got to be a damn good salesman to do that. Now, moving forward with that, though, what value do we bring? When you come in, you have to understand that one tile is not required. Yeah. You hit on this multiple times.
Yeah.
It is a luxury item for sure. Okay. It is. Sorry, guys. It is a luxury item. Okay. It's not required by anybody. It's expensive. It's difficult to put in. When tile work is installed correctly, it's basically really pretty concrete.
Yeah.
Okay. It'll last arguably longer than we will.
Yeah.
If, design aside from that. So that means there's so much room there to be able to move left and right. There's so much room for a particular installer to find a specific niche. Again, like Joshua Nordstrom. The guys that here in California that do nothing but mud and float. That's maybe not as much of a niche here in this state, but in another state, that's definitely a niche. Those are facets that allow you to sell that value to a particular person, okay?
Yeah.
Every time. Now, when I talk about weedy, we talk about a reduction in time to get the job done, and an increase in reliability and reduction of steps, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all things, bullet points that you can use to sell. But ultimately, every salesperson has to sell themselves before anyone's buying their ketchup, before they're buying their weedy, before they're buying their tile, before they're buying their water. You have to be able to sell yourself.
So I get told all the time that I'm double. If the consumer is told to get 3 bids. And that's intelligent. Like I
Sure.
get that, like I want to get 3 bids too. I want to know, what the market has to offer, whether I'm buying a vehicle or a paint job, or whatever it is. I get told all the time I'm double the other prices. How do I combat that?
Well, first of all, you own it. You have to be able to walk up and confidently say, hey, I'm Luke. I'm going to walk through this. Now, the sales process, I'll answer that, but I have to answer some other questions first. The sales process is an active process. It starts the first minute that you make contact, whether it be an email or a text, or they saw your truck parked at the park and they left a business card for you to call them, whatever it looks like. The first moment they make contact, that sales process has started.
Yeah.
You're either selling them that you're competent, or they're buying that you're not. Either way, they're forming their judgment, okay? You have to continue that process. So by the time you get to the point where you're looking at their bathroom, you're looking at their kitchen, or whatever it is that you're potentially going to go work on for them, they've already built some sort of an idea about who you are. Okay, so let me pause that for a second and go back to my own experiences. I was 27 when I became a general contractor.
Yeah.
And I'd only been in construction for a couple of years. So I was in the military before that. So when I come onto these job sites and my prices were what I felt was expensive, looking back, sometimes they were, sometimes they weren't. It wasn't price they were worried about with me. They were sitting there like this, looking at me like, who the heck is this 27-year-old on this job site running this business when I got guys over here that are 50 that have been doing it as long as he's been alive, okay? So what I'm trying to explain is I have to sell that I deserve to be there, first of all, that I can hold my own. Once I can hold my own, I then have to sell that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the tile work, okay? The only way that you can do that is not by saying, I've done this for 27 years. Awesome. Doesn't mean anything to me, though. You have to be able to talk, ask questions that are meaningful, listen to what they're saying actively, and think and internalize that and be able to provide feedback that makes sense to them. And then go ahead and move beyond that and provide more for them than what they were even looking for. Maybe they know certain questions they ask you because they've gotten other bids, or maybe because they've watched HGTV or done a Google search or whatever. Maybe there's pretty smart homeowners. You need to be able to show them that you understand those questions, tell them yes or tell them no, and tell them why. And don't just say, well, that's the way it's been done for 27 years. No, because NTCA, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you're an expert. Once you establish you're an expert on paper, then they can start building trust in you that you can actually pull out all this stuff and put in something else, at least at what they require quality-wise. And then you can build higher than that and say, actually, I'll take you one step better. I'll provide this, this, and this, and this, things you weren't even aware of.
Yeah.
Okay. When you do that, they've bought you. They may not even like you. Hopefully they do. Okay. But they may not. You might have completely different lifestyles, but they can respect that you own that space.
Yeah.
When you follow that up with a bid, and I would recommend personally that your bid not be a paragraph on a piece of paper. Okay. Because a guy like me,
napkin.
Yeah, a guy like me will throw that away and I won't even call you back.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to be able to show in the bid that all of those things that you just built are on that bid, on that paper. You want to be able to ask them questions. And in my opinion, I've wrote about this, selling with no, do not be afraid to tell them no. Because clients want all kinds of things that, to be short about it, are stupid, right? For various reasons. It's up to us to know why they're stupid and to be able to provide a better alternative, one that will be safe and sound and still give them what they want. Okay, that is what salesmanship is. Salesmanship is not getting someone to buy something. It's overcoming an obstacle. Cashiers check out numbers and take money.
Right.
Don't handle objections. They don't upsell. They just simply process. Okay.
That's a good point. Cashiers, they've got an easy job. I mean, it's just a transaction.
That's why there's
Simple
50 of them at
transaction.
Walmart right now getting paid $14 an hour. That's fine.
Yeah.
But to be a salesman, you have to be able to handle no. You need to be able to say no. You need to be able to say yes. You need to be able to critically think and stick to your ground. Now, it might come a day where they just simply can't afford you or they just simply don't want you. And that's okay. You're not going to win everybody, okay?
Yeah.
Cashiers have a 100% cashier rate. Salesmen do not. But again, you also want to have the 80-20 rule. You want to be able to focus on a smaller group of clientele, on a smaller group of jobs, and get more and do more.
Yeah.
Okay. We can process that example a million different ways. Ultimately means work for less people for better money and more efficiently and get more reward out of it. Okay. The people who sometimes spend the most on something, sometimes appreciate it the most.
That's an
Simple as that.
interesting theory. It's something I've been educating myself on as well. We oftentimes, if you've ever bought a brand new work vehicle, I mean, you might be spending 30, 40, 70 grand for a
Yep.
brand new truck. If you're like me, you get depressed, you get sticker shock, and even after the purchase, you might kind of get buyer's remorse. I've had buyer's remorse. Have you ever had buyer's remorse?
I have.
How long does it last?
Not that long, honestly.
Not that long.
I adapt.
Not that long. And you adapt, and you are dang happy a few days after you made that purchase. Sometimes just 24 hours that you've made that purchase. I get buyer's remorse. I get depressed. I get anxious. But something interesting happens in your brain. And I want you friends to think about this. Think about something that made you uncomfortable when you purchased it. How did you overcome it? You let a little bit of time go by and you drove the vehicle, you did the thing, and you enjoyed it, and you started to see the value in what you purchased. People started, when I bought my $35,000 truck, that was a huge purchase for me. That was probably the biggest purchase I had made up to that point in my life.
Sure.
Full transparency. I had buyer's remorse, right? When I bought a $10,000 truck, I went through the same thing 10 years earlier. I had buyer's remorse, but what happened is I started to see the benefits very quickly. When I pulled up to the job site, people saw me a little bit more professional.
You bet.
Contractors looked at me a little bit different. Homeowners did too. And I started to see, this vehicle runs smooth. It starts up on a dime. Things are going good.
Provides value to you.
Yeah.
And that value that it provides to you allows you to turn around and provide value to the people who you gain money from.
Yeah. And so how can this tell us a little bit about how this works with a shower as well?
Okay. Let's think about water. Okay. Water is the second most destructive thing in your house. Okay. Electrical would probably be the number one, but electrical is so highly controlled, so highly regulated. Okay. So in real life, I'd say the water tends to become the most threatening. Well, let's just throw out some. I don't know the exact numbers, but let's just throw out some numbers. How much water do you think comes out of a single shower, and a normal American takes a bath or takes a shower in 10 minutes? Okay, 400 gallons, 300 gallons, 500 gallons. It could be 100 gallons. The point is, if that shower isn't designed like a bowl to funnel that water through that drain and evacuate into the system, that's catastrophic damage no matter the way you put it. Okay, so if you're going to go in there and you're going to make a really simple, just straight up basic bath, okay? I got a 3x3 acrylic and I'm going to put up some 12x12s on the wall on point. I'm in and out in 3 days. Okay, so be it. But if that thing doesn't function properly, maybe that $4,000 job with materials and everything else, $1,500 in your pocket, that customer paid that much, but now they have catastrophic damages, okay? Now insurance has to be hit. Whether you're doing a $30,000 job, a steam shower, and you don't have every dot crossed in a steam shower, the amount of damage it will cause the house is far more than anything spent on the original job. And the amount of turmoil, amount of buyer's remorse that will happen. The only thing worse than buyer's remorse is when you pay for something you never got. Okay, I tell people that all the time with Weedy, because we know Weedy's like the most expensive system on the market, right? I say, well, yeah, you bet, but here's why. If you're lucky, you're going to get what you paid for. Okay, many of us don't even realize it, and we don't get what we paid for. There's nothing wrong with you being 30%, 70% higher than the next guy if you provide that value and you drove home those points. Now remember, people, humans, I don't care what race, at what economic status, what city, it doesn't matter. Humans are wired to make purchasing decisions based on emotion. I have a colleague, Art, up in Seattle. Okay, he has a lot of what we call artisms. One of his artisms, which is 100% true, is stories. Facts tell, stories sell. Okay,
I like
we
that.
buy based on emotion. What we do is we find logical excuses to justify our emotional buying decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I need to buy that Shelby GT500 because I've worked so damn hard and I just deserve it. Okay. That's a pretty weak excuse, but that's the thought process that goes through.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can cater to someone's emotions, pinpoint what it is that worries them. Okay. Oh, we bought this house and I love this house. We didn't really want it to be a flip. I think we're going to stay here forever, but our master shower is just, really ugly. Okay. Maybe it works just fine. Fine. Discover what their pressure point is and sell to the fact of creating an art piece to their desires. It may have nothing to do with function. It may be the inverse. You might be talking to a mechanic who doesn't really give a crap that his shower looks a certain way, but it needs to be sound and his drywall is leaking downstairs, okay? You've got to be able to ask those questions. Again, cashiers, they don't ask questions. California, they might ask you if you need a bag. That's it.
Plastic or paper.
Yeah, right. But they don't ask questions about, they're trained to say, did you find everything you'd like today? Well, if you've ever asked them or told them, no, I didn't find everything today I wanted, figure out what their response is. They don't really have a response, okay? A real salesperson has a way, a path, period. And that's part of what I was talking about when I said selling with no. I have a plan. I walk in here and I'm looking at all this place. I'm listening to their questions. I'm asking them questions to gain more information out of them. And there's a bit of a push and a pull. And I'm in their home environment, not mine, et cetera, et cetera. Then I'm going to present a path to them. And many times I will tell them, no, I will not do that because of this. And they don't argue with that because I've established myself as the expert. It had nothing to do with how old I was or how old I wasn't.
I really do like this point, Kristan. So many times we get asked, can I purchase the tile? Can I do the prep work? Can I hang the board or whatever? It's like, and I love when I was
younger. Can I buy the car if I paint it myself? Okay.
Yeah. When I was younger, I used to say, okay, I'll let you do the prep work. I'll come in and do the tile. Or sometimes they would want me to do the prep work. I mean, that might be a little bit different, but no matter what, the point of it is I would let them control me.
Yep.
And I'm not the professional then. I'm just this kid, this 27-year-old kid, like you said, that is letting the homeowner or the contractor move me like a puppeteer, like he's the puppeteer. And that's the exact opposite of where we want to be, friends. People post all the time in these groups, look at this contractor gave me the tile prices. That's not your customer.
No.
I mean, that guy is looking for cheap, and that's all he cares about.
Yep. And there are people that's their niche.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's up to you to decide that. But if you're in that situation of, hey, whatever this looks like to you, I just don't make enough money. I'm not happy with my prices. Or maybe my prices are good. I'm just not skilled enough at what I do to work to make my prices affordable, okay? You have to be able to ask yourself and do an honest inventory and be able to address that. If you find yourself in a question of, I'm working a lot, I feel like I'm good at what I do, I'm definitely bought in, I'm fully invested, man, I got the mortgage and I got the wife and the kids, the feet, et cetera, okay? Real life stuff. And you're not making enough, then you've got to change the way that you operate. You've got to become more precise, more focused on your sales, increase the intensity of your sales. Setting the tile should be the easiest part of the entire job. Hands down, even for Joshua, that should be the easiest part. Handling the human and handling your own self, your own doubts, your own questions, and reaching out for help to the communities, which we're all doing, and that's a great thing. Those should be the more difficult parts of the job.
Yeah.
We are always selling. My old boss, Colin, in the car sales, he would always ask, hey, what happened with that up? People that walk on a lot. Oh, they were just bored today. They weren't buying a car today.
Yeah.
And he shakes his hand and says, they didn't walk into a car lot because they were bored.
Yeah.
They sold you that they weren't buying a car from you today. I'll go buy them. I'll go sell them a car. You know what he does? He walks out there, and an hour later, they're in a car.
Yeah.
It was me not taking responsibility. It was me allowing them to sell me that they came onto a car lot and were looking at cars, but weren't going to buy one.
Yeah.
They weren't going to buy it from me because I didn't know what I was doing. We've got to take that extreme ownership. There's a lot of ego that could be involved in this. So the challenge is really to set ego aside and set emotions aside and just operate and look internally, okay? None of this is meant to put down somebody or make somebody feel like if they're not charging enough, they should be spanked or something. That's not the case. But we all get better by being more self-aware.
Yeah.
And it's not for you to qualify or for me to qualify if somebody makes enough money. It's something they have to ask themselves.
Yeah.
Simple as that, okay? I have my own experience. A lot of what I tell you came from my own experiences of working 75, 80 hours in a week, and still my car is about to be repossessed. what am I doing?
Yeah.
Obviously, something has to change. Okay.
Yeah.
The military taught me that if it doesn't work, don't sit there and wait for orders to do something different, dude. Figure it out, Marine. Make it work. Adjust in real time. Pull your ego out of it. It has nothing to do with your ego.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with your muscles or how smart you are.
Yeah.
You fail or you succeed based on your own drive to adapt to the environment that you're in. And if you want to think about sales, really, where I learned sales would be from the military. It sounds crazy. But you're in an environment with people that you don't know, you don't understand, and a culture you don't understand. You can't speak their language, and you don't want to die. You have to start learning how to adapt quickly and reading body language. Now, what we're saying obviously makes a lot of difference right now. But in interpersonal communications, the language is really body language. Okay. I could tell when I got a job basically every time because they come into the house and they're cold and a little standoffish and a little robotic, and they're giving me the tour of their house and they're telling me what they want and what they're going to do based on their ideas and what tile they're going to do. And their body language is fairly closed off. Okay.
Yeah.
And after I go through the process and I finally established the fact that I deserve to be there and that I have the skills and the competencies to talk about what we're talking about, their body language changes. And when they relax a little bit and they maybe smirk a little bit and maybe even make fun of me a little bit, or I make fun of them a little bit and we're all laughing, I'm in. At that point, I can drive home.
Yeah.
I can drive home the value. You know when you get it. If you never broke that barrier before you left, you never got that job regardless of what your price is, okay? For those of us that are getting jobs because we're down there on the bottom and the other guy is 10 cents more than I am, and I'm going to stay down below there, that's the way you want to live.
I love, friends, go back and listen to the last 2 minutes of this. Push rewind. If you didn't listen to that slowly enough, Kristan just delivered a ton of value there. I know that he's speaking the God, what's it called? The truth.
Like that.
He's speaking the truth. There's a saying I was trying to think of. He's speaking the truth here. I've experienced this. I know you've experienced this too. Go back and think about the last as many estimates as you can, the ones you won and the ones you lost. See if you can, in your mind's eye, see if you can realize that point, what Kristan just said, that you knew you won it or you knew you lost it. Think about that. Think about your conversation. And then you can have something to improve on. Then you can start working on yourself. That's a great point. Thank you, Kristan.
100%.
Yeah.
We have to be able to think about that and feel.
What is this extreme ownership, and how does that convey in my life as a contractor?
So I'm a big fan of this concept because it's written by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. I might have butchered the names. If you guys are listening, I apologize. Anyway, Navy SEALs. Okay, yeah. We all know about that, and of course, a lot of the things that they talk about, they describe a combat situation, and then they extrapolate the principle of that situation, and then they apply it to civilian life, which isn't exclusively business, but more often than not, some sort of a business environment. And so that resonates with me, obviously, on a lot of different levels. But what it's really talking about is extreme ownership. It's not something that I knew about before them by name, but something that was beaten into me in the culture in the Marine Corps. It was, I own everything about what's happening right now. I own this podcast. I own what I'm saying. I own the tone. I own what's going to happen after the fact as a result. I own how I got here. I own everything. And when you're in a military environment, basically, to cut it all aside, you can't say, oh, well, he didn't tell me to. Regardless of who did or didn't tell me to, the mission still failed. Okay, so extreme ownership is owning every single detail about something. And mostly, to me, what that means is I got to own me.
Yeah.
And I got to own my own deficiencies. I also got to own my strengths, the things that I do well. And I have to own the responsibility to look inside of myself and take a deep inventory about, hey, did I do well? Did I not do well? How could I do better? Could this have been avoided? And again, that concept is born in the nature of when you're dealing with people's lives. And so that weight is exceptionally heavy. So thankfully, I don't think it's usually that heavy in the civilian side in the business world. But when you're dealing with livelihood, that's still a very, very, very heavy thing. So extreme ownership says, I own every decision and every outcome. If I got that job, I owned it. It's my fault that I got it. Here's how, and here's how I can do better next time. If I got that job, but I only got 70% of what I wanted out of that job, own that. And it's your fault you didn't get 100% of it. Don't take offense to it. Don't get beat up about it. Don't cry about it. Just own it. Try to understand why. In the military, we do an after-action report, right? That's one way to put it. But we do an after-action report where we say, guys, what happened and why, so we can try to extrapolate and learn in the next movement, next op. So learn on the next bid. So I tried to apply that in every single one of my jobs. My next bid would be a little different. Sometimes I'd add more legalese to it because it's something that I didn't see and that hurt me, and I want to avoid. You could just simply say it's evolving.
Yeah.
Be willing to evolve, but take that extreme ownership. Here's the best part, the absolute best part about being responsible for your own failures and your own successes. That means you have all the power now to fix it.
Yeah.
If you think about it, and all of my problems in my professional life are that guy's fault, well, what power do you have to fix it then?
Yeah.
So that's what extreme ownership is. So how you can actually apply it in your own life.
Sounds uncomfortable.
It's welcome to being an adult. I mean, right? Welcome to running a business.
Yeah.
But you can own it and realize how you can improve. So the specific answer, how you can adapt it, is really pretty private to you. But the things that you avoid, the things that you excuse, the things that you get defensive about and try to play off, maybe look at them from a different angle and say, okay, I didn't get that job because I didn't do a good enough job selling. Well, what does that actually mean? Okay, well, Chris said that means I didn't build enough value. Okay, well, how do I build value? Well, in order to build value, you have to understand what they want. Oh, so actually, when I walked in there and I was the boss and I told them what I'm going to do and I didn't ask any questions of them, I didn't get any of their pressure points, I thought I was king tut. That's where I failed.
Yeah.
I didn't listen. I didn't ask questions. Now, simply listening is great. It's not enough. You have to be able to apply and extrapolate from what you're hearing and be able to feed it back to them in a way that makes sense and positions you as being technically superior to them, being the authority. Because here's the reality. We don't pay people dumber than us to do things.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Most people don't. So it's okay to be technically superior to them. That's what you're the expert in the field, okay?
In that one area. Yeah.
The last part I'll add to that is learn how to spin things. I think one of the reasons why I say, double your price and don't act any different about it. Act like that's been that way all along. I realize some people can take offense to that. Like, what the heck kind of behavior is that? What I'm saying is people learn from us. They take cues from us. My kids take a cue from me. They only know a situation is bad if I go, okay? If I don't do that, they don't realize it's bad. So they're not going to assume the sticker shock is unique to them if you don't act like it is unique to them. That allows them to come to you instead of you defensively justifying, oh, this is why I cost so much. Before you get mad, this is why. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Stand tall, shake their hand.
Yeah.
I am what I am. This is what's up. That will position their thought and the way that they crunch what happens after that completely differently. Then they're gonna say, well, I see that you mentioned XYZ, but nobody else ever mentioned that. And you can say, well, that's interesting. You should ask them about that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. 9 out of 10 times, human behavior, they never will ask those people about those things.
Yeah.
They won't. They'll go with you because they're going to assume that you know so much more than them that's not worth even for them to even try to dive into.
Right. Right.
You've sold yourself. At that point, it's on a tile. That's easy.
Yeah. I love it, Chris. Thank you for providing value. I want to be conscious of the time here. So let's just wrap this up in a nutshell. When we're, getting to that next point, if I wanted to go out and do, and friends, Chris talks about, doubling your price. If your phone's not ringing very much, take that with a grain of salt. We need to get our phones to ring first,
yes.
Quite a bit. And we can talk about that on another episode. But if your phone's ringing a lot and you're weeks and weeks or maybe even months out, then you have an opportunity here. You have a really, really great opportunity to double your prices or add, 30% or whatever the case might be for you. But Chris is trying to get you to push yourself. Just change your mindset a little bit. Just, challenge yourself. That's why he's saying these things that might sound extreme at times. But I love it. I think, like the extreme ownership thing, I think we need to get uncomfortable with ourselves. We really do. I mean, that's
That's how
the
you
only
grow.
way you grow. A little kid falls. Think about how many times your sons and daughters fall,
15 times a day.
before they learn to walk. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to fall before you can learn to walk and before you can and run. And it's going to be that way in business. It's going to be that way in life. If you don't push yourself, if you never asked your wife out on that first date, you'd never be married, So you have to push yourself. So let's
Well, think about real quick the dynamic. If you come in and you don't get a job, because when it all comes down to it, you are the expert, but they just cannot. They don't have the money to pay for you. That's okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
But you left an impression. You still sold yourself. Okay. They might come back later for another job, and they might refer you to their friend, who, by the way, has the money to pay you. ABCs, always be closing, always be selling, always.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's my best advice.
Right on. Well, I appreciate it, Kristan. Thank you for your time.
You bet. Thank you for your time.
All right, Tile friends, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Kristan. Kristan took time off of his day off on a Saturday and drove over to San Luis Obispo to meet me, and he delivered a ton of value. He did not disappoint, friends. Wouldn't you agree? He emphasized how we need to own the fact that we are salesmen. As business owners, we need to be focused on this. We need to focus on the sales. Otherwise, there's no money. Are you a young tile contractor? I really like how Kristan brought this out. It's really timely. A lot of you have been asking me how to overcome the objection of being a young tile contractor. Go back if you didn't listen to it or if you didn't catch it. And at about the 11-minute mark, Kristan explains how he used to overcome this objection when he was in his 20s. Now go back and listen to how he explained that being the expert, having the answers to his customers' questions, provided extreme value for his customers. He had a written, detailed proposal. He was the professional, and he had to explain and express by his actions and how he talked and how his business looked that just because he was younger didn't mean he wasn't the professional. All right, go back and listen to that again if you missed it. Now, right now, we have another Tile Money tip with Ron Nash, and these tips are, of course, sponsored by Laticrete International. Now, Ron and I have been talking about negotiation, and this is another ongoing negotiation tactic, a counter tactic Ron likes to call the dark arts, defense against the dark arts. Now, today we talk about the reverse auction. Have you ever been told, can you beat this price? Everybody shops around. We know our customers are shopping around. And when they come to us and say, can you match or beat this price? What do you say? Well, today, in the next few minutes, Ron's going to explain to us exactly what we can say. Listen how he explains how we can change this deal and how we can, some counter tactics we can use. All right, enjoy this tip with Ron Nash.
Now, the reverse auction is another really tough, tough thing. It's connected, it's connected to the bogey. It's like a cousin to the bogey. All right. And the reverse auction sounds like this. I've already got my bid in for this price. Can you beat it? All right. This happens all the time when a general contractor is shopping bids. And people say, oh, no, general contractors don't shop bids. Mm-hmm. Right. That never happens. But if it does happen, I'm going to tell you how you can handle that. All right. So they'll always say X company is willing to give me this price and you need to beat it in order to get the job. All right. So your seller's counter tactics looks like this. One, you can change the spec. All right. Okay. I could say, okay, well, I happen to know that company. I'm actually kind of littering the lawn a little bit. I happen to know that company. I know that they use, standard base grade products. I could look at the spec, I guess, and, deliver the crap that they were going to deliver. Not necessarily in that language, but you know what I'm saying. You could change the spec.
Make sure that the contractor knows that you're using upgraded materials, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe ask, do you know what materials the other guy's using? Is that
right? Exactly. So we go back to the scope. You're making sure that your scope is covered correctly. You're consulting him on how your value is. You're highlighting in a soft way how your value is being expressed on the job. Okay. So you can change the spec. This is where I use a funny money tactic. If there's something that came easy to you that you could easily pass on to them, that's fine. If you had a credit or something like that, you could pass on. Warranties, charging for warranties. Hey, look, this is a big hot topic, controversial topic. If I were to open up a tile store in Ogden, Utah, I would charge differences for different warranty packages.
Yeah.
Full stop. I would learn how to install a lifetime warranty system, and that would be my premium system. I would learn how to install a 25-year system. That'd be my mid-grade. I would learn how to install a 5 or 10-year system, and that'd be my base grade. And as you went up with my warranty, I would also go up in my price.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's a funny money tactic. It works great. Works really good.
Yeah.
Consider it. And then changing the shape of the deal. All right, so we haven't really talked about this very much, but if a deal is looked at like a pie, okay?
Yeah.
And a negotiation bit of that pie is, let's say it's 50-50. 50% is profit, and what they want to do is they want to make your profit slice smaller, okay? Changing the shape of the deal is, imagine if you can make the pie larger.
Okay.
And sometimes it's called expanding the pie. All right, so how do you do that? Well, okay, I got your backsplash, but you know what? You're not giving me the countertop contract.
Right.
I'll tell you what, I'll help you out with the backsplash. Give me the countertop project, and I could do this. Or I'll tell you what, add sealer to this job. Maybe I'm making a little bit more money on the sealer. You need to do it anyway. And then I can maybe give you X. Yeah. So expanding the shape of the deal, changing the shape of the deal is a great way to handle that kind of thing as well. These are just concepts of counter tactics. I would suggest that you try all counter tactics, get good with what you're comfortable with, and then use that as a system for yourself.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I'm glad you brought up the countertop thing. I've played with this business model before. I don't install countertops. I've tried. It's just I don't have all the tools, but I know countertop guys. I know where they live. I know where their shops are. So I've partnered with them in a sense, and I've gotten to know their pricing, the way they price things, and then I just, like you said, I just add a percentage on for myself. And I know other tile contractors who are doing this successfully. And if it increases your profits by 10% a year, 20%, I mean, it's worth it,
Dude, if it increases your profits by $500 or $500 a year, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's more money than you would have before. By the way, in many cases, for very low risk. You always want to make sure that the money that you make is worth the risk you're taking, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
And then in that, another one is you can nibble on these reverse auctions.
All right, friends. Did you enjoy that tile money tip with Ron Nash? I really like how he explained how we can combat this reverse auction tactic that so many people use. So it's so common that somebody says, "Can you beat this price? I shopped around. I found a lower price. Can you beat it?" How do you respond? Well, thankfully, Ron's helping us understand and change our mindset. We can actually change the shape of the deal. We can say things like, you know what? I'll tell you what, I can't beat that price, but I can upgrade your grout. I'll upgrade you to Permacolor Select grout. Now, just between you and me, friends, Permacolor Select is the grout, my standard grout that I use on jobs anyways. But they don't have to know that. It's funny money. I'll upgrade you to the Permacolor Select. It never has to be sealed. It's stain resistant. It has microban built in. And I'll go through the list of reasons why it's a better grout. Okay, that's changing the shape of the deal. And tell you what, I can upgrade the 10-year warranty to a 25. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but I want to really provide value for you here. I want to explain why I'm the contractor that you should be choosing. So do you see how Ron is helping us, combat these things that are so common? I often don't even realize it when I'm interviewing Ron. I'm caught up in the moment. But when I go back and listen, I think, wow, this is amazing stuff. And a lot of you friends have been letting me know. So what I want to do is maybe group some of these tile money tips together in the near future and release them and categorize them so that you can find them easily and refresh your memories, because it is powerful. All right, friends, I've got an industry news slot here, and this is sponsored by the National Tile Contractors Association. And they are proud to let you know that after several years of content development and application procedures, it has received formal acceptance into the National Apprenticeship System from the U.S. Department of Labor. The NCTA The NTCA apprenticeship guidelines can now be used by NTCA members to recruit new workers into their company, as it combines field experience with online learning through the NTCA University, as well as design classroom training, and can be managed by all levels of membership, from one apprentice through multiple students at any time. For more information on this program, contact Becky Serbin, NTCA Education and Curriculum Director at Becky at tile-asn, that's Becky at tile-assn.com. And there'll be a link to that in the show notes. Friends, all right, I'll be interviewing Becky very soon, so look forward to that interview, that episode coming out soon. We're going to talk about this program. We're going to talk about the online university that the NTCA has and how it can be benefiting you. All right, friends, stay profitable out there. If you're enjoying this episode, this podcast, subscribe, like, and share. Please do this. It's very important that all tile setters join in on our conversations and listen to this message. We need to raise our prices across the board. The competitive prices are way too low. So please, friends, share this episode with another tile contractor you know. Have a great day.